literally one of the 5 panic buttons I'm talking about. You know, of those panic buttons, the number 2 panic button, and the one that I think is extremely important, was the rapid erratic price changes that come with a right size, okay? Now, again, we're talking about all 5 of these having to happen concurrently. Same time, one after the other, all right in an ebb and flow to make the bubble burst, okay? So, the right sizing of the market, the prices dropping, okay? And I'm going to tie this into my third point, too, here in just a moment. But the right sizing of the market where card values are crashing. They're not all cards are worth a whole bunch of money, but instead the Tom Brady's are still worth a lot of money, and the, you know, whatever random quarterback number 3 that has a ring but is not Tom Brady is going back down to the values he should be, instead of, hey, that guy might make the Hall of Fame one day, so let's pay the same amount of money for his card as Tom Brady is worth, right? We're losing that concept now, which needed to happen. That's a positive thing. We needed to right size because the steam needed to come out from the card market to get all the hot air out, okay? And in my opinion, it's just like crypto. You know, crypto goes through ups and downs. If you were into crypto and you know crypto well, you know that right now is the time you'd be buying crypto. You would be buying up Ethereum. You would be looking at Bitcoin and buying. Last time crypto crashed like this, Bitcoin quadrupled in price after, okay? So that is the dip in crypto that has been around in the ebb and flow for a long time. In my opinion, however, right sizing happens in crypto, and it's happening now in the card market. It's needed. It shakes out all the fat, right? It shakes out all the people that are just in it for the quick buck. The people that, you know, didn't truly invest, they're not in it for long term. They're not moving forward for a long period of time. So with that being the case, you know, it definitely means that, you know, I think that the card market is in a prime position to right size. I just think it's the worst possible timing because I think it's being sparked by things other than the market realizing where it needs to be, and it's being sparked by some of the hype and the wind being taken out of the sails. Let me tie that in to point number 3, because I think this is important. They kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
Hey, so let me tie that into to point number 3 is distribution pricing, okay? So we're talking about the right sizing that the market and the people out front see. But what customers don't see, what most of these guys do in podcasts don't see because they're not actual stores, and what the ones that are stores don't want to tell you because in their eyes they may actually be benefiting from it, is the price of sealed product from manufacturers and distributors, okay? Last week I had an eye-opening experience where our order list from the distributor was massive. Quantities on product were really high that we were available to order. It had nothing to do with our status with the distributor and everything to do with the fact that mass amounts of products were staying in their warehouse and they couldn't move them at the asking prices. Keith, we talked about the fact that we bought hobby boxes of Select. You know why I bought a hobby box of Select? Because it's been on the order sheet for several weeks for hobby boxes, and every week the distributor has asked for at least $100 less per box and upped the quantity you could buy of Select hobby boxes. Okay? That's important. What that tells me is they can't sell it for the absorbent prices. 5 months ago, distributors didn't have sports card product in stock because people would pay whatever price they needed to have sealed product coming in so they could break it, so they could move it, so they could be cracking it. Like all cases across the board were selling through at insane prices, okay? Panini just printed more. Of every set that's come out since then, they just kept printing more. And if you watched Panini's prices on their website, they're selling for insane margins. They're putting them up there for insane margins, almost just to see, hey, how stupid will people be to buy it at this price, right? It's almost like that's what Panini's doing, is they're sitting there kind of laughing at people like, we're going to throw it up at Dutch auction at $5,000 a box for select and see if they buy it. And then they make the base price like, $1,200 or something like that. And then it gets all the way down and it still doesn't sell out. Well, the last couple of things to release on there that were these high dollar products that were not like super high end, flawless, first off the line, stuff like that, didn't actually sell out. And if they did, they sold out very close to the bottom of the Dutch auction margin, okay? Then the distributor prices start coming in. Distributors allocate it out. Well, then they start selling the additional product that they bought back, actually just pallets that they stuck on their warehouse shelf to basically say, oh, a week from now we can sell these at whatever the retail price is to stores, so we're going to push it out. Well, now they're not able to do that because stores aren't buying it at the same rate. That says demand is down. Stores aren't paying it. Demand is down. When we're talking about the sealed product being down, that's important.
Yeah.
That is important. We can talk about cards up and down all day long, but when sealed product starts going down because stores aren't buying, when distributors have to up the quantity they will sell you and drop the price, that is not good, okay? Distributors don't cut their margins down like that unless they have to, okay? That means that they're getting stuck with product now because Panini overprinted. You add on to the fact of that Target is not selling it in their stores anymore. The hype for retail is starting to dwindle. People still want it, but the hype for going to stores and hunting, the everyday person going and getting a select blaster that they can make $100 on that night for their hour or 2 hours of time, can't happen anymore. Online, it's going to the bots. Everyday man, everyday woman can't go buy it and buy their blaster and make their $100 for their Friday, right? They can't do that anymore. 2, distributors aren't getting the retail product yet. We're not seeing it come in. We're 2 weeks removed, and I'm being told by the distributor that they were supposed to get it in, and guess what? Apparently they didn't, and it's not coming. Where did that product go? Because it's not hitting a Target shelf. And I don't know, maybe Keith is right. Maybe they're hitting Walmart shelves. But Walmart, a lot of Walmarts suspended selling cards as well. Not all Walmarts are offering cards. So
I saw that Target is, in the next 2 weeks or so, is going to potentially start releasing Pokemon cards again in limited quantities.
yeah, I hear that they're going to go Pokemon. Sports cards, not so much. They're leaving the sports cards out of it because the flip on Pokemon cards is mostly people that are looking to crack or flip, but it's not the same volume and levels as what sports cards are. Like 1 for 1. You go buy an Elite Trainer box for $50 and you sell it for 80 or 85 and you make your, 30, $40 is not the same as spending $20 and then going and flipping something for $150 or whatever, that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit different, right? And the muggings on, for $30 is less than it might be for several $100s, which I think is their worry. So
yeah, Keith, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. Bots are getting it too. Like, I understand that people are able to try to buy it. And, obviously Barnes & Noble carrying it. I went and verified our Barnes & Noble carries cards. I bought some cards the other day from Barnes & Noble. I know it's there. I know it's an option, but it was very limited pickings. So, with that being the case, that's awesome, Keith. Yeah, we're going to start trying to get on there too. I'm hoping that the quantity is going to be such that even the bots won't be able to handle... or maybe Target finally implemented some good bot blockers. Rumor has it they were investing a lot in that. So that's my other points there. The 2 points I'm tying in. The market right size and the fact that distributors can't charge any price for it and the stores aren't buying it at any price, that tells you there is significantly less demand. The hype behind scooping up all the product is no longer there. Again, that point is a good one when not put in combination with all the other panic buttons that we're going to talk about. So do you want to have anything to add to that, Blake, as far as the right sizing of the pricing?
No. I mean, I agree with those points. To to me, like you said, this is a good thing because I think a distributor being able to ask whatever price they want, just throw it on the wall and have people pay it, is not healthy for the market.
Right.
It's not healthy for the hobby. It prices out true collectors right from the get
Right.
go. So to me, that's important to get into some sort of a. It's really important to get to a point where we can start having the collectors come back and they can comfortably do their thing instead of just everything being about, what card is jumping 20% this week or next week, and continuing to raise the bar to the point where we just price out, I mean, and Braden can't afford cards, so kids, collectors, people that, actually care about the cards.
Right. Well, and that's the thing that retail also funded. Retail funded people that couldn't afford spending $2,000 for a box of cards that a year ago or 2 years ago was $400, right? If you had looked at a box of hobby cards, short of flawless and, all those really high end, 5 cards in a suitcase type of sets, you were talking about $400 a box, $500 a box was like the high end of some of those prices, on the everyday sets. I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking about, the super high end, extremely limited. National Treasures.
Right.
I remember when National Treasures came out and they were talking like $1,000 a box. It was a huge deal, and it was like in this sealed case, and there's like 4 cards in there, and that kind of thing. That was a huge deal for that price point.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about a legitimate basic hobby box going for, thousands of dollars.
Right.
That is not something that a collector can do. And, we talked about this, Keith, and we actually used you as an example. We were talking about that box of Hobby Select. And, to sell that, we essentially have to sell that at $100 a hobby pack, right? So you think about it and you go, well, how many people out there want to buy hobby packs at $100 a pop? Are there people? Sure. Would I do it? Sure. Keith, I bet you would probably do it. Select, you might do that. But at the end of the day, when you can go spend $100 and get a blaster with several packs in it, and the die cuts and the whatevers, or you can spend $100 and get a hobby pack and maybe get an autograph or something really baller because it's hobby, but also maybe just not get anything good. There's a big swing, in my opinion, of people's perception. And the everyday person is not willing to take the risk on spending $100 on a hobby pack when you can buy a blaster for $100. Will that change now that retail is not readily accessible to every person? Maybe, but not soon enough. The perception is there. It's been built in. I think that's...
Yeah, Heavy, exactly. Heavy makes a good point that Heavy's the epitome of the person that we're talking about here. Because I know that Heavy was interested in both sports cards and Pokemon cards. We talked about it. He was, consuming our content, learning about the market and all that. And it just is to the point where he was like, forget it. I can't even find cards at a reasonable price. So it just immediately prices out people exactly like that. Pokemon, the same thing he has there for his kids. It just immediately disconnects real people that want to get into this but can't.
Right. And that's the thing that, is important. When I talked to my contact at Panini, I asked him, how do you solve the Target Walmart thing? And his answer was simple. They need to buy more. Like the idea that if there was so much of that product out there that you couldn't take it and flip it on the market for $120 a box or whatever, there's some reality to that, right? If Target didn't stock 5 blasters at a time or 10 blasters at a time, at that point, the limited quantity is not there. If Panini stops making the blasters so stacked, right, then it limits the desire to go and buy them for that. The other side of that is if the hobby cards come down in price to make the disparity in price not so wide, that also drives the demand for those down. So you still get your sell through, but you don't have long lines of people mugging each other in the parking lot for the cards. It also
Right.
doesn't alienate the customers like, Heavy there, where they can still find product. Kids with their, moms in the checkout line, like Keith's talking about. I still am not. I still don't believe that that's where kids are getting their exposure, is they don't randomly wander to that aisle, and moms don't randomly wander over to that aisle for things that are not Pokemon cards. But at the same time, I do understand the importance of having those aisles there, and what those do mean for the hobby. So with that being the case, I definitely want to, make sure that we keep that in mind. I do think that the retail removal comes at the worst possible time. I think we're just in a perfect storm. I still have 2 bullet points here too. I just wanted us to really kind of spin in these moments here and talk about these before we,
Yeah.
went on, because that's kind of a deep thing. The market right size is real. Like, I think we both agree that we're in a right size. But the
Sure.
question is, does the right size even off and the hype come back, or does the right size take away the hype? And if the hype doesn't come back, then the values that we bought in at on our collections over the last 2 years, unless you were a dealer buying at half of what eBay prices were, you're probably going to be super disappointed in your investment collections going forward. That's my thought.